First contact gone wrong. Admiral James Chen stood at the observation deck of Lunar Base Alpha, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic displays. The massive window before him offered a stunning view of Earth, peaceful and serene against the backdrop of stars. But his attention was fixed on the readings that scrolled endlessly across the screens. "Sir, we have confirmation." Lieutenant Sarah O'Neill's voice was steady, though her fingers trembled slightly as they danced across the control panel. "The objects we detected crossing the Kuiper Belt last week, they're definitely artificial, and they're accelerating." Chen's jaw tightened. After 30 years in the United Earth Space Command, he'd known this day would come. Humanity wasn't alone in the universe. They'd suspected as much for decades. But first contact wasn't supposed to happen like this. Not with 12 massive objects, each larger than anything humans had ever constructed, moving in perfect military formation. "How long?" he asked. "At current velocity, 72 hours until they reach Mars orbit, sir." The Admiral's hand unconsciously touched the quantum communicator in his pocket, a device known to only a handful of people on Earth. "Alert the Security Council. Priority Alpha. And get me a secure line to Director Patel at Project Helios." As O'Neill carried out his orders, Chen remembered the day 15 years ago when everything changed. A routine mining operation on Uraba had uncovered something impossible: the remnants of an ancient alien outpost. The technology they'd found had advanced human understanding by centuries, but more importantly, it had come with a warning. They are coming. They always come. The next several hours passed in a blur of activity. The UN Security Council convened an emergency session, while the world's military forces quietly moved to high alert. News agencies began picking up unusual astronomical readings, but the official story remained routine solar observation exercises. In her underground laboratory beneath the Atacama Desert, Director Amara Patel watched the incoming data with growing concern. The quantum computer before her had been analyzing the alien vessels since their first detection, and its conclusions were troubling. Their energy signatures matched the warnings in the Europa archives, she muttered, more to herself than to the assembled team of scientists. "They're harvester ships." Dr. Marcus Wong, her deputy director, leaned forward. "Should we inform the Admiral about?" "Not yet," Patel cut him off. "We need absolute confirmation first. The consequences of revealing Project Helios." Her words were interrupted by a global broadcast that overrode every communication channel on Earth. The message came in perfect English, though the voice carried an otherworldly harmonic that made it clear this was no human transmission. "People of Earth, you have achieved sufficient technological advancement to warrant harvesting. Your resources and genetic material will serve the greater glory of the collective. Resistance is inadvisable. You have 24 hours to surrender your governing authorities. Non-compliance will result in planetary sterilization." The message repeated in every major language on Earth. In the chaos that followed, Chen made his way to the Atacama facility. The time for secrecy was over. As he descended in the quantum-shielded elevator, dropping 3 kilometers beneath the Earth's surface, he reflected on the gamble they'd made. Project Helios wasn't just about reverse engineering alien technology. It was humanity's insurance policy. The elevator doors opened to reveal a cavern so vast it seemed impossible. Suspended in massive anti-gravity cradles was humanity's secret weapon, the UES Prometheus. Nearly 2 kilometers long, its hull was composed of self-repairing metamaterials that seemed to drink in light itself. Unlike the utilitarian designs of traditional spacecraft, the Prometheus was beautiful in a predatory way, its lines suggesting motion even while stationary. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Patel appeared beside him, her dark eyes reflecting the ship's gleaming surface. "We finished the quantum core integration last month. She's ready." Chen nodded. The crew, 300 of the finest, drawn from every nation, but chosen for ability, not politics. They've been training in simulators for years. Captain, how much of this can we reveal to the Security Council? All of it, Paddle replied. The time for secrets is over. But Admiral, there's something else you need to know. The quantum computer's analysis suggests these aren't just random harvesters. This is the same fleet that destroyed the Europa Outpost's creators. They're returning to finish what they started in this sector. The Admiral's expression hardened. Then it's time they learned that humanity isn't as helpless as the civilizations they're used to encountering. Send the activation codes to Captain Rivera. The Prometheus launches in 6 hours. As they watched, maintenance crews swarmed over the massive vessel, preparing it for its first real combat deployment. Humanity had dreamed of reaching the stars for centuries. Now they would do so not with peaceful exploration vessels, but with a warship built to defend everything they held dear. The harvesters were coming to strip Earth bare. Instead, they would learn a harsh lesson about underestimating the species they saw as merely their next harvest. Humanity wasn't going quietly into the night. They were about to light up the darkness with fire of their own making. Project Aurora revealed. Captain Elena Rivera stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, watching as the massive launch doors above slowly parted. Through the opening, stars beckoned, along with humanity's greatest challenge. The bridge crew worked with practiced precision, their movements betraying none of the tension that filled the air. All systems nominal, reported Commander Zhao Wei, her executive officer. Quantum core is stable at 15% capacity. Hull integrity at 100%. Rivera nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the harvester fleet's approach. They had passed Mars orbit ahead of schedule, their massive ships moving with an arrogance that spoke of countless unopposed conquests. Engineering reports ready, called Lieutenant Aisha Hassan from her station. Dr. Santos has the quantum drive spooled and waiting. Dr. Maria Santos, their chief engineer, had helped design the revolutionary drive system that powered the Prometheus. Based on principles found in the Europa archives, but enhanced by human innovation, it would give them capabilities the harvesters couldn't imagine. Begin launch sequence, Rivera ordered. Tactical, maintain quantum shroud until we clear atmosphere. The quantum shroud was one of their key advantages, a field that made the massive warship virtually undetectable. The harvesters would have no warning until the Prometheus chose to reveal itself. As the ship rose from its underground berth, Rivera thought about the diverse crew under her command. 300 of Earth's finest, chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to think creatively. The harvesters had conquered countless worlds through overwhelming force, but they'd never faced humans before. Message from Harvester Command Fleet, announced Communications Officer David Chen. They're laughing, Captain. Broadcasting that they detect our primitive launch and advise us to stand down before we embarrass ourselves. Rivera allowed herself a small smile. Let them laugh. Tactical, status of weapon systems. Lieutenant Kira Patel's fingers danced across her console. All systems green. Void Lance is primed but cold. Standard weapons show ready. Hull metamaterials are responsive. The Prometheus's hull wasn't simple metal. It was a living alloy that could adapt to enemy weapons, learning and evolving during combat. Another gift from the Europa archives, perfected by human engineering and innovation. We've cleared atmosphere, Zhao reported. Ready to engage quantum drive on your mark. Rivera straightened in her command chair. Send to all hands. This is the moment we've trained for. These harvesters think they're facing primitive prey. Let's show them why humanity reached the stars not through peaceful expansion, but because we knew we'd need to defend ourselves. Harvester Fleet is launching fighter screens, Tactical reported. Standard intimidation pattern. They're still not taking us seriously. Perfect. Dr. Santos, initiate quantum jump. Put us right in the middle of their formation. The stars blurred as the Prometheus's quantum drive engaged. Unlike the crude FTL systems used by the harvesters, their drive could make precise jumps even in tight spaces. The bridge crew watched as their ship materialized in the heart of the enemy fleet. For a moment, nothing happened. The harvester ships, each one dwarfing the Prometheus, seemed frozen in surprise. Then chaos erupted. Multiple targeting locks. Tactical announced. They're powering weapons. Let them fire first, Rivera ordered calmly. Let's see what they've got. The first salvos from the harvester ships were devastating plasma bolts designed to cripple capital ships. They splashed harmlessly against the Prometheus's adaptive hull, which absorbed and analyzed the energy patterns. Hull integrity at 98%, reported engineering. Metamaterials are adapting. Pattern recognized. We're now immune to that weapon frequency. Rivera's smile grew predatory. Our turn. Target their lead vessel. Standard weapons only for now. Let's not show all our cards at once. The Prometheus's conventional weapons were anything but standard, based on principles reverse-engineered from the Europa archives, but enhanced by human creativity. They combined antimatter catalysts with quantum tunneling delivery systems. The shot caught the harvester vessel completely by surprise. Its shields, designed to repel plasma weapons, might as well have been tissue paper. The blast carved through 3 decks of alien alloy, venting atmosphere and crew into space. Enemy fleet is responding, Tactical reported. They're falling back, regrouping at 1 million kilometers. They're calling for reinforcements. Communications added. Much less laughter in their transmissions now. Rivera stood, addressing her bridge crew. That was just the opening move. They'll be back with a real fight soon. But we've achieved our first objective. They no longer think we're primitive prey. She turned to the tactical display, watching the harvester ships regroup. Now they'll come at us with everything they have. And that's exactly what we want. Because humanity didn't build the Prometheus just to survive first contact. Her eyes narrowed as she studied the enemy formation. We built it to ensure that the next time the harvesters find a developing civilization, they'll remember what happened when they tried to harvest Earth. Set condition 1 throughout the ship. The real battle is about to begin. The Prometheus's quantum core pulsed with power, ready for the fight ahead. Humanity's first interstellar battle was just beginning, and they intended to make it one for the history books. The battle for Saturn's rings. The rings of Saturn glowed with ethereal light as the Prometheus took position behind the gas giant's largest moon, Titan. The massive harvester reinforcement fleet had arrived, 30 ships strong, each one bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Captain Rivera studied the tactical display, where Dr. Santos was highlighting energy readings from the enemy fleet. They've adapted their shields, the engineer explained. Our previous attack pattern won't work again. They learn fast, Commander Zhao observed. But so do we. The harvester response to their initial encounter had been swift and brutal. 3 Earth orbital stations had been destroyed before the Prometheus could intervene, and now the enemy fleet had driven them back to Saturn's orbit. But retreat had been part of Rivera's strategy all along. Status of Operation Avalanche, she asked. Lieutenant Hassan's hands flew over her console. Mining charges are in position throughout the rings. Quantum triggers are armed and synchronized. We're ready on your mark. The plan was audacious, perhaps insane by conventional standards. But humanity had never played by conventional rules. While the Prometheus had apparently fled from Earth, automated mining drones had seeded Saturn's rings with specialized charges designed by Dr. Santos' team. New transmission from the Harvester command ship, communications reported. They're offering terms. If we surrender the Prometheus and its technology, they'll limit their harvest to only half of Earth's population. Rivera's expression hardened. Send no response. Tactical, status of the Void Lance. Charged and ready. Lieutenant Patel confirmed. But Captain, even with full power, we can't take on their entire fleet. We won't have to, Rivera smiled. Dr. Santos, explain what happens when you quantum destabilize ice particles in vacuum. The engineer's eyes gleamed. The energy cascade creates a temporary artificial quantum field, similar to our drive system but unstable. In layman's terms, a very big boom. Multiple enemy ships moving into attack formation, Tactical announced. They're spreading out to prevent another close-range jump. Rivera nodded. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. The harvesters were tactically brilliant, but they thought in straight lines. They couldn't conceive of a species turning an entire planetary ring system into a weapon. Message from Earth. Communications cut in. Admiral Chen reports Operation Ghostlight is in position. That was the signal Rivera had been waiting for. While the harvesters focused on the Prometheus, Earth hadn't been idle. The secret shipyards beneath Europa had been working at full capacity. All hands, battle stations, Rivera ordered. Dr. Santos, begin quantum cascade sequence. Tactical, target the Void Lance on these coordinates. She highlighted 3 points in the ring system. The Void Lance was humanity's masterstroke. Not just a weapon, but a key that could unlock the very fabric of space. As it fired, invisible beams struck the carefully placed charges. Saturn's rings began to glow with unnatural light. Enemy fleet is responding, Tactical reported. They're pulling back. They've detected the energy buildup. Too late, Dr. Santos murmured, watching her readings. Cascade reaction is self-sustaining. 3, 2, 1. Saturn's rings erupted in a spectacular display of quantum fury. The destabilization created a temporary maze of spatial distortions, trapping half the harvester fleet in twisted spacetime. But that was just Phase 1. Operation Ghostlight, execute, Rivera commanded. From behind Europa's orbit, 5 new ships appeared, smaller than the Prometheus, but just as advanced. Earth's secret defense fleet, built using the same technology, but optimized for pack tactics. The harvester fleet found itself caught between an impossible physics phenomenon and a coordinated attack by ships that shouldn't exist. Their formation broke as individual captains tried to respond to threats from multiple directions. We've got them, Rivera announced. All ships implement attack pattern Theta. Show them what happens when you corner humanity. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. The Prometheus and its sister ships danced through the quantum distortions like they were performing a choreographed ballet, while the massive harvester vessels struggled to maneuver in the chaos. But as they pressed their advantage, an unexpected signal caught their attention. From one of the crippled harvester ships came a transmission on an encrypted frequency that matched patterns found in the Europa archives. Captain, communications called out. I think we're not the only ones who were left warnings about the harvesters. Rivera's eyes narrowed as she studied the transmission. The battle for Saturn was turning in their favor, but she sensed they were about to uncover something far bigger than a simple invasion. The real question was, who else out there had been preparing for this moment? And what did they know about humanity's mysterious benefactors from Europa? The heart of the enemy. The Prometheus drifted silently through the debris field that had once been part of Saturn's rings. Around them, the quantum distortions were finally settling, revealing the aftermath of their victory. Half the harvester fleet lay crippled or destroyed, while the rest had retreated to the outer system. But Captain Rivera's attention was fixed on the encrypted transmission they'd intercepted. Dr. Santos and her team had been working on it for hours, comparing it to the patterns found in the Europa archives. It's definitely from the same species, Santos confirmed, her holographic display showing pattern matches. The ones who left us the warning and the technology. They called themselves the predecessors. But why would their signal be coming from a harvester ship? Commander Zhao asked. The answer came from an unexpected source. From the ship they'd disabled came a new transmission, this time in perfect English, because some of us remember who we used to be. Rivera exchanged glances with her command staff before responding. Identify yourself. Was designated Harvester Sub-Commander Corell. But before that, generations ago, my ancestors were among those you call predecessors. Some of us have maintained our true consciousness, hidden within the collective. This changed everything. Rivera made a decision. Commander Zhao, prepare a boarding team. Full quantum shields, and bring Dr. Santos. I want to know everything. The boarding operation was unlike anything in human military history. Using short-range quantum jumps, they'd bypassed the Harvester ship's conventional defenses. Inside, they found something unexpected. The ship was transforming. Sections of it were shifting from the angular, aggressive Harvester architecture to something more organic, more familiar from the Europa archives. Krell met them in what had once been the ship's command center. The alien's appearance was striking. Half mechanical Harvester implants, half something almost humanoid. We've been waiting millennia for a species like yours, Krell explained. One that would not just use our technology, but improve upon it. Dr. Santos studied the alien technology around them with fascination. The Harvesters, they're not just conquerors, are they? They're a virus. Correct, Krell confirmed. They spread across the galaxy, assimilating species and technology. But they made a mistake with my people. They thought they could improve themselves by incorporating our quantum consciousness technology. Instead, it preserved fragments of our true selves, passed down through generations of what you'd call sleeper agents. The Europa archive, Rivera realized. It wasn't just a warning. It was a trap. You were hoping someone would develop weapons that could free you. More than weapons, Krell's partly mechanical face attempted something like a smile. The Void Lance isn't just a weapon. It's a key. Properly used, it can sever the quantum links that bind Harvester consciousness to their central network. It can free them. But before they could discuss further, alarms blared. The Harvester fleet wasn't just retreating. They were regrouping. And now their true leadership was arriving. The Overminds. Krell's voice held real fear. They've realized the threat. They're coming themselves. The tactical display showed 5 massive ships emerging from quantum space, each one larger than Earth's moon. These weren't simple resource gatherers. These were the true masters of the Harvester fleet. How many others like you are there? Rivera asked quickly. How many ships in their fleet have hidden resistance? Enough, Krell replied. But we've never had the means to act. Your Void Lance technology. If you could broadcast the quantum disruption pattern through our network. Rivera's mind raced with possibilities. This wasn't just a battle for Earth anymore. This was a chance to free an enslaved species and end a threat to the entire galaxy. But the risk was enormous. Dr. Santos, she turned to her engineer. Can we modify the Void Lance to broadcast through their quantum network? Santos was already running calculations. Yes, but we'd need to get much closer to their command ships. And Captain, to generate enough power, we'd have to channel everything we have, including our shields. Rivera looked at her crew, then at Krell. Humanity had come into space ready to fight for their survival. Now they had the chance to fight for something even bigger. Send word to the rest of the fleet, she ordered, and contact Earth. Tell them that Operation Torch is now in effect. We're going to light up the darkness not just with fire, but with freedom. As the massive Overmind ships approached, the Prometheus and its sister ships began moving into position. They weren't just fighting for Earth anymore. They were fighting to free a species that had been enslaved for millennia. And in doing so, perhaps become something greater than they had imagined. The final battle was about to begin, and it would determine not just the fate of humanity, but the future of the galaxy itself. A new dawn for humanity. The 5 Overmind ships filled the view screen of the Prometheus, their massive forms blotting out the stars themselves. Each vessel pulsed with sickly green energy, their quantum signatures so powerful they distorted space around them. All ships in position, Commander Zhao reported. The rest of the fleet is synchronized with our targeting systems. Captain Rivera stood at the center of her bridge, watching as Dr. Santos and Krell made final adjustments to the modified Void Lance. They had one chance at this, one opportunity to end a tyranny that had lasted for millennia. The Overminds are broadcasting, communications announced. The message that followed seemed to shake the very hull of the ship. Insignificant creatures. UAV Kikor UPTED our harvest, and INVCTED our network with rebellion. Your XTINCHYN will be 8B Solute. Rivera smiled grimly. They still don't understand. Humanity doesn't bow to threats. We never have. Dr. Santos, status. Void Lance modifications complete, Santos replied, her fingers dancing across quantum-encrypted controls. Corell has provided the network access codes. But Captain, channeling this much power will burn out our core. We'll be defenseless. All ships, this is Captain Rivera. She broadcast to the human fleet. Operation Torch is now active. Execute attack pattern Omega. Whatever happens, the Prometheus must reach the broadcast point. The space around Saturn erupted in chaos. The human fleet moved as one, their smaller ships darting between the massive overmind vessels like wolves harrying bears. The Prometheus drove straight for the center of the formation, its metamaterial hull absorbing unprecedented levels of energy. Hull integrity at 60%, engineering reported. Metamaterials are failing. Reroute power from life support if you have to, Rivera ordered. We only need 10 more minutes. From his station beside Dr. Santos, Corell suddenly straightened. They know. They're accessing my memory patterns. They understand what we're attempting. The overmind ships began to converge, their combined weapons fire creating a wall of death between the Prometheus and its target point. But they weren't the only ones with surprises left. Now, Admiral, Rivera commanded. From behind Titan's bulk, humanity's final card was revealed. The orbital defense platforms they'd been building around Earth hadn't been meant for planetary defense at all. They were quantum resonance amplifiers, and they'd been quietly moved into position during the earlier battle. Beams of pure quantum energy lanced out from dozens of platforms, creating a corridor through the overmind's defenses. The Prometheus surged forward, its engines glowing white-hot. We're in position, Tactical announced. But our hull is failing. We can't survive another barrage. Rivera's voice was steel. We didn't come here to survive. We came here to win. Dr. Santos, initiate the broadcast. All power to the Void Lance. The ship shuddered as its quantum core channeled every ounce of energy it had into the modified weapon. Corell's consciousness interfaced directly with the ship's systems, providing the access codes to the Harvester network. The Void Lance fired. But instead of a beam of destruction, it released a pulse of pure quantum information. The signal raced through the Harvester network at faster than light speed, carrying with it the accumulated knowledge of the predecessors, the innovation of humanity, and the unquenchable desire for freedom. The effect was immediate and stunning. Throughout the Harvester fleet, ships began to transform. The rigid mechanical forms softened, became organic. The green energy signatures flickered and died. The overmind ships writhed in space, their massive forms trying to fight the change. UCANNOT. We are ETERN. Hail. We are. Their voices faded into silence. It's done, Corell whispered, his own form slowly shifting, becoming more organic. The network, it's free. We're all free. The Prometheus floated powerless in space, its core burned out, its hull barely intact. But around them, the transformed ships of the former Harvester fleet were approaching not with weapons, but with offers of aid. Captain. Communications called out. We're receiving messages, thousands of them. Former Harvester ships across the galaxy. They're all awakening. They're all free. Rivera looked out at the transformed fleet, then back at her crew. Send to Earth. Operation Torch successful. The Harvester threat is ended. And humanity. She smiled. Humanity has just made one hell of an entrance onto the galactic stage. Hours later, as rescue ships docked with the Prometheus, Rivera stood with Corell and Dr. Santos, watching the transformation of the overmind ships continue. "What happens now?" Santos asked. "Now," Krell replied, his form almost fully organic, "we rebuild. There are thousands of species to free, technologies to reclaim, wounds to heal. We would be honored if humanity would help lead the way." Rivera thought about the journey that had brought them here. Humanity had reached for the stars, ready to fight for their survival. Instead, they'd fought for something greater, freedom itself. "Tell Earth we'll need more ships," she said. "The real work is just beginning." As the rescue ships began towing the Prometheus home, the stars seemed somehow brighter. Humanity had not only survived its trial by fire, it had transformed the galaxy. And somewhere out there, the predecessors who had trusted in humanity's potential were smiling. The age of the harvesters was over. The age of freedom, cooperation, and exploration was about to begin. And humanity would lead the way.